Start this one off. We're going to read a few verses from Genesis chapter 45. I'm going to do verses 4 through 8, and then we're going to get after it. So we actually covered these in church, so that's why I feel like, while the pastor was preaching, I was receiving his message, but I also was kind of fascinated in something that he didn't necessarily touch, that I think maybe that's what God was putting in my heart. But verse 4, it says here, "So Joseph said to his brothers, 'Come near to me, please.' And they came near, and he said, 'I am your brother Joseph, whom you sold into Egypt. And now do not be distressed or angry with yourselves, because you sold me here. For God sent me before you to preserve life. For the famine had been in the land these 2 years, and there are yet 5 years in which there will be neither plowing nor harvest. And God sent me before you to preserve you for a remnant on earth, and to keep alive for you many survivors. So it was not you who sent me here, but God. He made me a father to Pharaoh, and the Lord of all his house, and ruler over all the land of Egypt." Now, where I want to focus on here is, do not be distressed or angry with yourselves, because you sold me here, for God sent me here before you to preserve life. And I think that's actually one of the craziest I think that's actually one of the craziest statements in the Bible, in these, at least these few chapters of Genesis, because we're looking at something, like a redemption story for his brothers, essentially, but also for Joseph. Very emotional time. Obviously, he wept, I think it was 7 different times in the book of Genesis when he kind of came in contact with his family again. But so a very emotional time for Joseph, right? And he was crying, and not because he was angry at his brothers, or he, had, hatred or anything in his heart towards them, but because he saw the reason why God had sent him and allowed him to be sold into slavery in the first place. And it was ultimately to preserve his brothers' lives. And what I want to get at here is, it's very interesting, kind of the subtle message I think God put into those verses, because let's take it from the sinner's perspective, not necessarily Joseph's, right? His brothers who did him wrong, and it didn't really seem, at least the Bible doesn't touch on it, didn't really seem like they cared or they felt bad for what they had done to Joseph. They were planning on killing him until Reuben's like, "Hey, nah, like we'll figure something out. We'll just throw him in a hole or whatever." But then when he left, his brothers came back and decided to sell him into slavery instead, because they thought that would be a better solution. So it doesn't really seem like they had remorse, because they had a lot of hatred towards Joseph in the first place. But even in that point, when they were, obviously not doing God's will, when they were so far detached from what God had for them, God had taken their sin and ultimately used it to save them, to make them not starve, right? To continue their life. He used their own corruption against them in love and mercy and grace. And obviously, I just think that paints the biggest and one of the most beautiful pictures of grace and mercy in the Bible, because Joseph's brothers deserved to be punished, if anything. They sold their brother to slavery, hadn't heard of him, lied to their father, Jacob, that he was eaten by a lion, probably. And after sin, on top of sin, on top of sin, God had actually already prepared the plan to redeem them and to restore the entire family. But I think it's a picture of, it doesn't matter how far you think you've gone, that God has already worked in the background to prepare a journey for you to come back home to Him, for you to come back and to be with Him, and to experience His love and His mercy and His grace, and to live alongside Him. So I feel like oftentimes we even forget that, where we become so ashamed of our sin. And I'm not saying sin is a thing to be proud of course it's not. But man, I think we should just be awestruck at God's mercy, because, well, obviously Joseph's attitude and his character. He's a man of integrity. It's kind of what they're touching on at church. But also God's mercy and grace and all of that. You know, it's just such an insane amount of grace that we have access to, where while they were doing that, God was working through Joseph, and Joseph was kind of the sacrifice. He was the one that had to get sold, right? And he's the one that had to go through all this, had to go through that whole scandal with Potiphar's wife when she accused him of stuff he didn't do and all this. And he's the one that had to suffer for it. And ultimately, I mean, look at his attitude. He said, don't cry, because it's not your fault that I'm here. It's actually God that brought me here so I could save you guys, so I could preserve your life. You know, I mean, obviously a foreshadowing of Jesus's character too, because that's the same attitude that Jesus takes with us. It's like, do not cry, you know, do not feel angry or anything at yourselves. God the Father has sent me here to redeem you. But such a beautiful picture of God's grace, man, that in our own sin and in our own corruption, and while we are actively sinning, God has already predetermined a specific path, probably even a specific person here on this earth right now, to help guide us back to Him, to help edify us so we can come back to Him. You know, and that paints a picture of how strong of a desire God has to be with us in this life, to live in communion, you know, with us in this life, but ultimately eternity, right? Because God doesn't want us to be alone here. God wants us to be with Him, essentially just practicing what we're going to one day do in heaven. So that's Genesis chapter 45 for you. I mean, all those chapters really just blur together, but it's just an insane illustration of God's mercy. So if for some reason today you think you've gone too far, trust me, you haven't. God already behind the scenes, probably far before you even knew, you know, far before we ever knew or whatever, far before we even committed the sin that we could be thinking of right now, God already established that way back to Him, and He is calling out to you. So all you have to do is answer that call, because God wants to be with you today. God wants to be in your heart. He wants to reign over your life, not as a dictator, but as a king who loves and protects and guides and builds us up, gives us His strength. He pours Himself into us. Like, what a beautiful thing, you know? So that's what I kind of encourage you guys with today. So transitioning away from that. Yesterday, as you guys saw, didn't end up hitting legs with Dylan. We ended up doing back, which is fine, because honestly, a lot of the machines at that gym are so sick. I just love the machines there. All the Nautilus stuff, the old school Nautilus stuff. I mean, just great machine selection. There's a bent over plate loaded row. I just wish I had a little chest supported kind of spot there, but honestly, great machine. Great machine selection, like the alternating arm lat pull down stuff. I don't think I've ever even used one of those. So I think the back workout was still pretty good. Today we're gonna get back on track, hit a hard leg day. I kind of want to make it more hamstring focused today, because earlier this week I had hit a mostly quad dominant day, though I guess I can't really say quad dominant because I just squatted and then did my leg extension, leg curl. So we'll see. There might be some Bulgarian splitters on the menu. I'm not completely sold on that idea yet, but we'll see, because I want to blast my quads, I want to blast my hamstrings, and I definitely want to blast my calves. And I don't really have much of a time restriction today, so I want to do abs. I don't think I've ever actually recorded myself doing abs for YouTube, but I do them, don't you worry, I do them. And then we're going to hit a nice 30 minutes of cardio so I can get through the Count of Monte Cristo. I'm on chapter 90, you know, I have like 27 chapters more. So I really wanted to finish it this weekend. I don't know how much I'm going to do today, Sunday. So maybe today will be the day where I can just speed run and try to finish it, though, you know, it is like 250 pages. I mean, it could be worse. So at worst, really, I don't want to finish it any later than Tuesday. So we'll see how that goes. But that's what's on the menu today, and regardless of what actual lifts that we do, we're going to go hard. Now, obviously, maybe your guys' perspective of what is hard and what is mine is a lot different. I guess pushing yourself to that, close to failure should always be consistent, but what that looks like from my end versus maybe someone else stronger or more experienced than me obviously looks a lot different, right? So as long as we have integrity, even in the gym, where you're just working as hard as you can and pushing to failure, because if not, you're just cheating yourself. So, if you're not actively working towards your goals and actually making yourself that uncomfortable to reach your goals, then I think it's better mentally for you to just erase that goal from your mind, because it's just the idea of it is gonna haunt you. And if you're not willing to do the work, I don't think that's something that you want to become. So when we go to the gym, we need to be filled with that sense of integrity that should sprinkle in our life everywhere, right? Even if the camera was not filming me, I'm taking my sets pretty dang close to failure, right? But now that there's 1 or 2 people watching on YouTube, or however many it is at this point, that could make it easier to push to a certain intensity, right? But what are you doing when the camera's not there? What are you doing if you don't even record your workouts, whatever? Are you pushing that hard when there's no one else at the gym, no one else to quote unquote compete with? So you just got to remember, your goals are your goals for a reason, and you have to actively work towards them. So no one's going to come and give you your gains at the gym. That's kind of one of the things I like about the gym too. Even if you're enhanced, it's not my thing, but even if you're enhanced, no one's just handing you all your gains. You got to actively work for it. You can't fake good health, and you can't fake, consistency in the gym. So, yep, we'll see you guys there once I'm warmed up for a diabolical leg day. Have hamstrings nice and warmed up here. Just freaking see it. Keeping the weight at 170 here. Okay. Set 3. Drop the weight down. Let's try to keep it slow and controlled here. Oh my God. Last side of this guy. Okay.
Moving on to everyone's favorite Bulgarian splitters. Whew. Let's see how this goes. Next set here. Alright, last set. These are freaking kicking my butt right now. Moving on to some RDLs here. Okay, last set of hamstrings before I move over to calf raises here. Moving on to abs. I really like using the back extension machine for some obliques, so that's exactly what we're gonna be doing here. Last set. All right, leaving the gym now. I feel like it was a pretty good leg day. Definitely feeling it already. My hamstrings and glutes have left the chat about 20 minutes ago. I didn't film it, but I did my cardio after. Kind of Monte Cristo's getting so good. I really feel like it kind of slowed down in the middle for me personally, and I was trying so hard for myself to not feel that way, but because I'd see everyone in the world just talk about how every single word in that book is like pure gold or whatever, but for me personally, I just feel like it slowed down in the middle a tiny bit. But right now, this last third of the book, I would say, oh my gosh, it's getting real good. So Mercedes just recognized the Count as Edmund again. So it's like a mic drop moment, but yeah, overall, good workout, good cardio, beautiful Sunday. It's not rainy or anything today, so we're gonna see what the day has in store for us here in Nampa, Idaho. So if you guys are skipping your cardio, don't. Again, just get a book and start reading. We're in a literary crisis here in the US, so time to get smarter, time to read more books, and time to actually think with your own brain. So all of it, discipline, delayed gratification with reading a story and all that stuff, it all goes hand in hand with the gym. So you read more books, you get more gains. You heard it here first. Tomorrow I'm probably gonna do there was a while where I was doing a chest and biceps day that I really liked. And yesterday when I was working out with my buddy, I felt like I was gonna pass out, so I couldn't really do biceps at the end. I legit felt like I was gonna pass out. I was seeing colors and stars for the first time and probably ever at a lift. And it's not because of the lift, I think I was just, something was wrong with me. So tomorrow I'm gonna do chest and biceps, just absolutely shred them, so we can get back on track here and get the biceps back in the chat, because I want bigger arms. I want bigger everything, honestly. I want a bigger chest, want bigger back, bigger biceps, bigger triceps, bigger calves for sure, everything. So yeah, we'll see you guys tomorrow for a nice upper body day.